Okay, so hello everyone. This is Eric. Welcome to our today's webinar. And today's topic is a day in the life, law in Europe. We're glad to invite two professional legal practitioners to share their daily life with us. Let's welcome Nico from Burgess Salmon Bristol and Chris from Montanos and Montanos Cyprus. So today's event is sponsored by Behave and Haved Consulting, and we are also have a Q&A session at the end of the speech. Feel free to ask any question. And also, I suggest you all can open your camera so we can have a better connection. So, and we can also speak Chinese as a, 大家可以用中文发挥一些问题啊，问一些提问啊，我们都可以有这样的一个更好的一个沟通。So, Petros, do you want to introduce Behave a little bit first?
Yes, thank you, Eric. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm very excited. This is our second collaboration with Hived, and it's about law, obviously, a career in law. Before we delve into the topic, though, we have Nico and Chris with us. I'll be introducing Beehive to us. So Beehive is a non-profit community organization which we started in Beijing 3 years ago. And we started this because of the lack of career support that we experienced at our universities. So we believe that everyone should have access to soft skills training and career services. And that's the reason why we started Beehive. We're a socially driven non-profit organization on providing professional development opportunities for everyone. So far, we've done more than 65 events, and most of them have been offline, but now because of the coronavirus, we are experimenting with online webinars such as these. And yes, if you would like to know more about Beehive, you can scan us. That's the QR code there. So we work with different organizations such as LinkedIn. We do the Begin Your Career program. This happens in Beijing right now, but we're also discussing with LinkedIn to have it at different cities in China, such as Shanghai. We also have a leadership program, Be Your Leader program, that focuses on different skills such as public speaking for interviews, cross-cultural communication, self-awareness through the MBTI, and a lot of different other exciting events. So if you'd like to know more about Beehive and what we do, you can scan the QR code here, and you can also talk with me either here on Zoom, or you can add my WeChat or whichever social media you use. Then I go back to Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, thank you, Petros. So Haved is a consulting company founded in London and to help students fulfill various career development needs. And our professional mentors dedicated to provide guidance covering essay proofreading, CV advisory, and one-to-one coaching sessions. So if you want to change your future and find a better job, then come to find us. You can screen the QR code in the screen and follow our official account. So let's back to our topic today. So have you ever imagined what a typical day of a lawyer looks like? Today we have two special guests with us to share their insights of the law industry in Europe. So Nico is a trainee solicitor in Burgess Salmon Bristol, and she's doing her last rotation in her current company and the final step before turning into a qualified solicitor. So Nico, do you want to introduce yourself to us?
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I would like to say a big thank you to Hive and Beehive for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here, even though it's 9 o'clock in the morning in the UK on a Saturday. I sure it will all be worth it, and I hope you enjoy this. So I'm Nicoletta. My friends call me Nico, and I'm originally from Cyprus. I studied in the UK at the University of Nottingham before I applied a training contract in Bristol. This is a training contract that consists of 2 years of training, and during these 2 years I've done experience in a litigation department, a banking department, and a corporate department. And I decided to become a corporate lawyer, and I will be qualifying in September. So this is all from me.
Okay, thank you, Nico. So we also have another guest called Chris. Chris have more than 5 years of legal experience as an advocate in Montanus and Montanus Cyprus. So how about you, Chris? Good morning.
Hello, Eric.
Hi.
Nice to see everyone. I would like to thank Hive and Beehive for the invitation. I'm delighted about it. I would like also to welcome everyone in today's seminar, and I'm sure that you will find it very useful for your career. A few words for myself. I'm Chris. I'm from Cyprus. I've studied in the UK at the University of Sussex. I've also hold an LLM from the University of London on banking and finance, and I'm currently studying to gain the advanced diploma in international taxation from the Chartered Institute of Taxation in the UK. As Eric stated, I have more than 5 years in experience in practicing law in Cyprus. My main practice area is cross-border commercial disputes. I, on the other hand, am on the contesting issues rather than Nicoletta on the non-contesting. I would also like to point that Cyprus, like Hong Kong and Singapore, are both based on the common law system, the English common law system. And there is a recent tendency of the Cyprus courts to follow very many interesting cases from Singapore and Hong Kong. So we have many things in common on the law perspective. That's it for me. Thank you very much, Eric.
Okay, thank you. So that's a good introduction from you both. And so can you tell us why you want to choose have a career at law industry? So Nico, you want to go first?
Yes, I can go first. So I will be honest with you, when I had to decide for a degree to do, I didn't really dream of being a lawyer, but I chose to do a law degree because it is a degree that gives you many transferable skills. It gives you analytical skills, research skills, and communication skills that you can basically take from law and then take them into any other industry that you would like to. But in my final year of uni, I did a couple of work experiences in some law firms in the UK, and then I decided there was no other industry I wanted to be, because one of the great insights I had was that being a lawyer does not mean one thing. You can be any kind of lawyer that you choose to be, and the life of a lawyer in litigation, like Chris's life, is not the same as the life of a lawyer in transactional work, like myself in corporate. And you can also choose to be an employment lawyer and a real estate lawyer. There's an infinite amount of opportunities. So I chose to do that because it's a career that is intellectually stimulating, it's challenging, it has to do with people. And I decided I could take the challenge, and no day has been the same as the previous one or the day after. So this is what attracts me to this career.
Okay, so what about you, Chris?
And me on the other side, sorry for interrupting you, Eric, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Me on the other side, to be fair with you, since high school, I was quite sure that I wanted to become a lawyer. I really enjoy arguing, so I find it quite suitable for me. To be fair, at the first year of my university, when the only thing we did was studying, reading books, nothing too much fancy, I wasn't that excited. On the second year of my university, though, I had the opportunity to participate in many mooting competitions. And at that time, I've realized that that is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I do enjoy arguing, discussing, conveying reason on specific and certain matters. And as Nicoletta said, it's a challenging and multi-phasing practice. I mean, no practice is the same. It's completely different being a dispute resolution lawyer or being a transactional financing corporate lawyer. It's really, those practices are different, but at the heart of them, the reason remains, the reasoning that you need to convey for some matters and to discuss this with your colleagues, it's at the heart of practicing law. So that's the reason for myself that I chose this path.
Okay, so you know what? When I was younger, I also dreamed to be a lawyer someday, but I think it's too late for me now. I
It's
hope we
never
can.
too late.
Yeah.
Can I just say something on that, Eric?
Yeah.
That it's not necessary at all to have a law degree to enter the legal industry, and especially here in the UK. In my intake, we have 30 trainees, and 15 out of the 30 have non-law degrees. There are people that have done engineering, there are people that have done art, history, economics, different backgrounds. And law firms actually quite like that because they want the diversity, they want the different ways of thinking. And also, most of them they start their trainee life close to their 30s. So it's not straight finish uni and then get into the legal career. In the UK especially, it happens a bit later. People do other stuff and then they decide that law is the best.
I would like to point out something here. Two of the most prominent judges, Lord Denning had a degree, if I'm not mistaken, in chemistry or biology or chemistry, and Lord Samson of the Supreme Court as well has a first degree in history, and then he transferred to practicing law and being one of the best judges of the UK. And on this point, there is a really interesting discussion on YouTube between Graham Virgo of the University of Cambridge and Lord Samson, discussing if it's preferable to start with a law degree or another field and then transfer to law. I do recommend it for everyone interested in a path, in the law career path.
Wow. Speak of this, I think, so what a typical day in your daily work life? I mean, a law firm can combine, gather a lot of people from all the industries. So what a typical day looks like, and what's the most thing you like and something you don't like? For me, I enjoy the lunchtime.
I also enjoy lunch. Sorry. I would say that, as I said before, one of the attractions of doing law was that no single day is the same. So it's it's a good question, but it's a very tricky one. But what I would say, is that I always wake up, make sure I get my workout in. I talk to my parents before I get to work because I never know what time I would finish, which is something that I don't really like about my career. But again, it makes it interesting. I have been through phases where I had really late finishes and very early starts, so it has been quite challenging. But my typical day, I'll get into the office, get my coffee, and then check in on any emails that have come on the night before, and then sit down and do a to-do list, like prioritize what I need to do in my day. And what I would also do, if there's nothing urgent, I will spend a good 30 minutes or 40 minutes checking the news, like checking the business news or reading some articles. There are some websites like Lexology, and they've got like legal articles from different law firms on things that are happening in the world around you and how this impacts the legal world. So I would spend some time and read those articles, and the amount of times that this has helped me to talk to clients or talk to my colleagues and show that I understand what's going on. This is as important as doing a good research task or giving a good technical advice. So I would do that in the morning, and then in corporate law, what we do basically is we help people buy and sell companies or invest in companies that they like. So my tasks will be basically running that transaction and also drafting the documents. So what I would usually do is do my drafting in the mornings and then do the more administrative based tasks in the afternoon. And then sometimes when we are ramping up for a completion, I will have to stay until the evening and make sure everything is in order and that we can complete. And as a trainee, the fortunate thing is that you have to stay after the completion again to tidy up everything and scan everything into the system. So this is a not glamorous part of the job, but this is something that has to be done. And what I love about my job, I think, is the fact that I do with people. Like I talk to people every day, I talk to clients every day, and my clients are usually business owners, and it's very exciting to see these business people like talk to you about their dreams, about how they want their company to progress. And it's really very satisfying to feel that you are playing even a small part in helping them achieve those dreams.
Okay, so what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I will give you another point of view. Practicing in Cyprus and being a dispute resolution lawyer, their life, it's quite different. First of all, there is no such a thing as a normal working day. You never have those. Something's gonna happen every day, something new, something challenging, something will shake up your day. But for the sake of it, let's try and put it down. As Nico stated earlier, the first thing, wake up, have a quick gym session. That's very important for you and for your brain as well. Body and brain are very important to take care of them. Then I usually go to the firm. Depending if I have a hearing at the court, I will do my briefing, discuss it by my own and remind myself what I need to convey and say to the court, what's my actual point is. Then I usually go to the court, do my oral submissions or my cross-examination, examination in chief, depending of the proceeding. And then we go for lunch. But before that, I will try to say to you another day, a day without a court, non-court day, let's say, court-free day. Usually when I go to the firm, I respond to my emails. This gives me a satisfaction that I have done something. So I get myself into the mood of working. And then I as well move to the most intellectual demanding tasks, drafting pleadings, skeleton arguments, responding to complex queries, or drafting legal opinions. You never manage to finish them within a day, so it's gonna take a while, but you need to start at the peak of the day when you feel that you have done something and your brain is functioning 100%. Then we have our lunch break for 2 hours, and then we move to the afternoon shift. Respond to the emails again, and from there, depends. If I have a hearing next day, I'm preparing for my hearing, reading through, making sure everything is in place, I'm ready for everything. Otherwise, we have a team meeting with the litigation department, discuss how our cases are going, brainstorming actually. And if I'm involved in another non-contesting issue, I come up with my colleagues from the finance department or the corporate department to see where are we in order to proceed accordingly. And usually the day ends quite late. That's a bad side of practicing law. You're never gonna leave your job quite early. So it takes quite a lot of your day. Most of your day is at the firm. That's it for me.
Okay, good. So from my opinion, I think you two are all have have everything in a schedule for every workday's life. And as we all know, the coronavirus is about all around the world. So I think you all have to work at home. So what's the difference between now and before? Like anything specific happened now?
It's a whole different world for working from home and working at the office. And I think everything I do from my perspective can be done at home. Like you have a laptop at home. The firm was very generous. They brought monitors to us. They posted them to our houses. So I've got 2 monitors. I've got my keyboard. I've got my mouse. I've got everything. But it has been challenging, and it has been challenging for 2 reasons. The first one is connectivity. The work we do needs collaboration that you usually talk with other lawyers, you bounce off ideas, and this has been a bit difficult because we had to take that from the office and put it into Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, BlueJeans meetings. So it has been a bit challenging at first, especially with the older lawyers, to get them used to the technology, get them used to opening their cameras where they talk to you, get them used to this new way of working. But this happened very surprisingly to me, happened really quickly, like in a matter of a week, everything transitioned online. The more challenging, the second challenging thing and more challenging for me is keeping to that schedule that we talked about, Eric. Like it's because you're at home and you're in your I'm like myself, I'm in my living room. So it's very difficult for me to separate my work life from my home life. So I'm not as productive now in my mornings because I get distracted. I make too much coffee. I take more breaks, and then I end up working later because I don't finish the stuff that I started to do in the morning. So it has definitely messed up how disciplined I am. But this is something I am really working on. So yeah. But on the flip side, I think this will do a good things for the legal industry, because so far the legal industry has not been very embracing of this agile working and working from home. And I think this is going to show to people that actually work can be done remotely. So potentially there will be opportunities for lawyers to say in the future, okay, on Friday I will be working from home, or I'm not feeling very well, I need some rest, so I will be working from home for a week. This is what I hope will happen.
Okay, cool. So what about you, Chris? So as I know you are working as an advocate, so what if there is some emergency case you need to deal with, and do you still need to go to the court? I mean, can you do that now at such a difficult time? Yeah.
Yep, the courts in Cyprus at the moment are closed except urgent matters. What you define urgent matters, it's decided ad hoc by the judge. But to give you a taste of it, it's for a ship arrest, let's say, for an important and urgent interim application to freeze something. For those matters, the courts are open. But it's been a drastic change. The coronavirus has changed everything in our practice, because everything was done in the firm at the courts. Now every single one member of our firm is working remotely. There are some skeleton staff at the firm to assist the others, but mostly everyone is remotely. I would agree with Nico that the legal industry has not yet embraced it, but due to the need that the coronavirus has made, the legal practice will adapt and improvise and work accordingly. We're moving to the new era of the law practice, and this is remote working. I would like also to say something. We're having a pending arbitration in Cyprus with SIT Cyprus, and due to the corona outbreak, no, we're not going to meet with each other to continue the arbitration proceeding. So we've decided that we will proceed via webcam. So we're going to be conducting our first hearing of an arbitration proceeding via the internet. And I think this is the future, because in cross-border issues, it's very difficult for witnesses to travel, advocates to go to the courts. This, in my opinion, will be the future. But on the flip side, human interaction is important. And it's very important when you are trying to make a point, and it's going to be difficult. And new skills will be required by advocates and barristers to be embraced in order to adapt to those changes. But that's my opinion, that's my take.
Okay, cool. So because we have been there and we have experienced the lockdown, I think everything will back to normal after a few weeks later. Yeah. So what do you guys think about the skills? What kind of skills we need to have before we enter legal industry? Like if we want to, I believe all the audience for now are mainly Chinese, and what kind of skills they need to practice before they, find a job in a law industry?
I think I'll give you two skills. So the first one is your communication skills, and these are both oral and written skills. So the way you speak to people to communicate a message, and the way you write. And usually we write emails to clients or reports or advice, and it is very important to learn how to tailor your message to the person that is receiving this message. So you're not going to talk in the same way to your colleagues as to the client. When you talk to lawyers, you can use technical terms, but when you talk to clients, you have to use much more simpler, not much simpler language for the client to understand you. So these are skills that really, I don't know, because I sat down yesterday and I was thinking of ways that I can suggest people can work on those skills, but I don't think there is a recipe for this, but it's simply practice. Like, you need to practice as much as you can whenever you get an opportunity. What I've been doing when I started my training contract was I would see emails, I would get emails from different lawyers. And when I saw an email that I liked, I just copy and pasted it. And I created this notebook of emails and ways to say stuff. And then I started, when I wanted to say something similar, I would go back to my notebook, find an email, and basically copy paste it, change it a bit, and then send it either to a client or to a colleague. And then what this has done after 2 years, it's amazing, because now I can just write all of those phrases without even looking at that notebook. I go back to it sometimes, but most of these phrases are now in my vocabulary and I can use them. So this is the way that I practice. I also listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of news briefings. And when I listen to stuff, sometimes when I listen to something that I like, I try to repeat it so that I can practice the way that people here say stuff. So this has been my way of improving my communication skills. And definitely, if people here are doing law degrees, they're definitely practicing their written skills. So yeah, practice. The second thing I would say is, I mentioned earlier about reading the news. So the second important skill is commercial awareness, to know what is going on in the world around you, and how this is affecting your clients, and also how this is affecting your firm, because the law firm, people usually forget that the actual law firm is a business as well. So it gets affected by everything that's happening. Coronavirus, for example, now our partners have to make some business decisions about the law firm itself. So yeah, and the way to improve your commercial awareness is go on those websites. BBC News, the business news is really good in the UK. You go there, you check the news every day, maybe find a story that you like and then follow it through. And also in interviews, you will be asked about what do you do about commercial awareness. People are looking for that because it's very important.
Okay, cool. So what about you, Chris? Is there any difference, like from your side? Yeah.
I totally agree with what Nico has stated. I mean, keeping up to date, being commercially aware is of the essence. I mean, it's vital. You cannot practice law if you don't know what's going around you. You must understand the courts and everyone takes into account commercial reality, and it is very important. My skill that I would say it's the most important is attention to details. Details do matter, and they will make the difference. Those small details gather up together will build will separate you from your competition, first of all, or your opponent. The most difficult the task is, the more diligent you have to be, and the more detailed the work needs to be done, must be done. On this point, how someone will sharpen his skill in being more deductive and giving attention to those things is, first of all, don't rush. Take your time, work your way through it, and be efficient. Be focused on that particular task. Try, if you're gonna do a really intellectual demanding work, try to be focused. Don't multitask at that moment. You can do it afterwards or before. But when you are working on a serious project, you need to be focused in order to be able to grasp those details. The other thing I would like to emphasize is, as Nico stated, law firms are businesses. They care about profit. But how do you make profit? You need clients, you need revenue, and what do you need? At the heart of a law firm, it's the client. So you need to understand your clients. You need to understand the needs of your client, even if your client doesn't understand them. So if you're gonna be practicing in a law firm, you need to understand what your client needs. So this is a mosaic of different skills, of commercial awareness, of current affairs of that particular sector, and of the specific business of your client mostly. So those ones are the most important ones. On the side, ancillary, I will say, it's being organized. That's gonna separate you from the others, and time management. It's really important that you schedule your day through, know what's your action plan gonna be, if it's within your control always, but you need to have a plan and stay dedicated to it. Not in a micro level, in a macro, it's much easier for you. That's it for me.
No, okay, that's a lot of useful information from you two both. Yeah, so what about for the international students? You know, for us, we have the we are from different countries, so I think the barrier between our country and the country we have been to, so there's a lot of difference. So what do you think the most important thing for us, maybe like me, for me, if I want to study law in UK or Cyprus or in anywhere in Europe, what do you suggest me to do?
I think I can speak to that, being an international student in the UK and working mostly in my second language, English. So I think the first point to say is that, and I can speak for the UK, I cannot speak for Europe in general, unfortunately, but I can speak for the UK. And I know that all of the firms here in the UK, in Bristol, in London, they are looking for international students because it adds to the diversity of the firm. And all of the firms are looking now for diversity. So there's definitely not an issue. If you want to come here, you will be welcome here. I think one of my challenges was the language barrier, but I mentioned before the tip I had with using the phrases. There's nothing wrong with that, like learning from people, even if it's in that way, like copying pasting what they say and then saying back to them. Most of the people don't even notice the amount of times that I got a comment back from someone saying, "This is a good email, Nicoletta," and all I had done was copy and paste what they sent to me like 2 months before. So I think one of the things, what is important for international students is to build up their confidence. And this was the issue for me. Like, I knew my English was good. If I did a law degree in the UK, my English was good enough, but I didn't have the confidence to show up at the law firm and say, okay, this is me. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes I speak slower than everybody else. My accent is different, but this is me and I know what I'm doing and I'm more than capable to do this job. And I didn't have that confidence, and I would go into the interviews and that would just, people would see right through that. And then one day I just decided, like, look, I as good as everybody else, even better. So I built up that confidence, and that has helped me a lot. So this is it. I don't know if you have any other, like, if people here have any other specific questions or concerns as international students, if they can put them on the chat and then see if I can address those.
So good. Okay, cool. So what about, is there anything you want to add, Chris, for this question?
I do agree with everything that Nico has stated. I will also recommend to people to, when they feel uncomfortable with the way that they talk, or if they think that the language is a barrier for themselves, what they need to do is, first of all, build up your confidence. How do we build up your confidence? By becoming better, by working on it. So talk to the mirror, record yourself. I found it to be the most useful thing to do, because you can't really tell. You don't know how you look like. If you don't see yourself, how do you convey? How do you speak to others? So pretend that you are in an interview. You know most of the questions that are gonna be asked from the interviewer. So prepare a response, try to structure it down, and it's gonna be much easier for you. It's gonna flow. That's a bit more elaboration on what Nico has stated.
Okay, cool. So as you may not aware, that in China, if we want to find a job in law industry, we need to have the bar examination. So is it also important in Europe? I mean, like, is it also a must for a UK firm for that?
So in the UK, so I don't know. I think, what are we answering the questions in those chats in the end? Because there was one about our multi-language skills with.
Yeah.
Should we address that now, or should we?
Oh yeah. I think we should address.
I think definitely for me, even if you think that my first language is Greek, so you would have thought, like, okay, it's not a language spoken by many people around the world, like comparative to the world population. But when I was in the litigation department, we had a case. We had a client selling halloumi. Halloumi is like the national Cypriot cheese, and there was an intellectual property case on that, and all of the documents were in Greek. So what happened was somebody went into the interface of the firm, looked for language skills. They saw that I was the one who spoke Greek, and even if I wasn't in the litigation department at the time, they called me and they said, look, there is this whole data room with Greek documents. Can you help us? And I was like, yeah, of course. I had to ask for permission because I wasn't working for that department, and this was a week of work. But it was really good for me because, firstly, it raised my profile straight away. I was a trainee, but I was basically leading that litigation dispute because I was the only one who could understand. And it was also very interesting for me because I never looked into the intellectual property rights of our traditional cheese, but I got the chance to do it. And yeah, so it has definitely, it will help you. Being multilingual helps you in all the craziest ways that you can imagine. There was also another case, and I think this was my greatest achievement as a trainee ever. There was this partner, again in the litigation disputes, who wanted to go to a meeting with a property fund, and the owners of that property fund were Cypriots. So he was like, I'm going to this client meeting to pitch for work, and I will take you with me because they are Cypriot, and I think it will be nice if I've got a Cypriot with me. And actually, I did the whole pitch. I won the client because one of the clients couldn't speak English, so the conversation had to be done in Greek. The partner had no idea what I was doing, but I did it, and it was wonderful. So yeah, being multilingual, it's definitely in your advantage.
I would also like to add something on Hara's question about the multi-language skills. Also in Cyprus, being an international business center, it's essential. Our clients are everywhere, and for our firm, we have quite a lot of people that their first language is not even Greek, but they know Russians or Romania or other languages where we have many clients, and it comes in use. It's really important. A firm that works with international clients needs to have people that speak their language. It conveys a different meaning. Let's tell the truth. It's a different thing for someone to speak in their own mother tongue and discuss with other people. It makes them feel comfortable as well. And at the end of the day, you win over the client. So firms in Cyprus do look for that. Also, on what Nikki stated about the issue with the correspondence, we have that. We've worked closely with many British firms, and we've seen that most of our correspondents are either from Greece or from Cyprus, and it's done so due to the language. So diversity on those firms is also required, and it is welcome. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for the question from Chara. And I think we got one more question from Lynn. So she asked, what's the interview process to get a trainee job in a law firm?
I think this one is kind of nice question, Erin, because it links back to your question about do you require the bar? And so in the UK, there are two categories of lawyers. There are the barristers who are advocates and they show up at court. We all show up at work. And then there are the solicitors who work in law firms, and some of them have rights to go to court, but most of them don't. So these are completely different routes, and you choose either or. I chose the solicitor route, so I never had to do the bar, and it wasn't required for me to do the bar in order to get a training job. And back to Lynn's question, the way you get a job in a UK or a US law firm, you finish your degree, and before you finish your degree, actually, you get you apply for training contracts. So, but it's a two-step process. So firstly, you apply for work experience, and then you go, and if you get the work experience, you do 2 weeks of work experience, and then at the end of those 2 weeks, you get an interview for getting a training contract. And usually those training contracts will be given to you 2 years in advance. So I got my training contract in 2016, but I started training in 2018. And this is the challenging bit, and this is what many international people don't know about the UK. You have to start applying early as possible. I started applying when I was in my second year of uni. I didn't get anything in my second year of uni. So I applied again for my third year of uni. And then I started working 2 years after that.
So I want to ask, so how long it will take, to be a qualified lawyer before, from the graduate, then you turn into a qualified lawyer?
Okay. So it depends. So usually it will be a 3-year law degree, and then you do an LPC, which is a legal practice course, and this usually is paid by the firm that gives you the training contract. So you get a training contract at the end of your degree, and then they pay for this legal practice course, and then it takes you 2 years for a training contract, so 6 years at least to qualify. If you do a non-law degree, you have to do 3 years of your degree, 1 year to convert into law, 1 year to do the LPC, that legal practice course, and then 2 years of training. So it's total 7. But as I said before, for many people, this takes so much longer because of this 2-year gap. If you don't manage to get a training contract in your uni years, and most of the people, I would confess, they don't, you get a training contract much later. It can take well up to 10 years to qualify. But in the meantime, I mean, being a trainee, you're still working and you're still getting paid very well. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's like a time investment, for the.
Oh yeah, it's a huge investment. But I think the bar is more expensive, more time consuming, and I think it's a more prestigious course to do if you choose to go on that route. But I think the opportunities for working in there are maybe less because it's hugely. It's also the language barrier. You appear at court, and not many international people go for that because it seems more difficult. And unfortunately, I cannot speak a lot for that. Maybe Chris knows more for that.
Oh yeah, as you stated, it's very competitive, either for the British people, but those that believe in themselves and work on it, they're gonna manage to. It's difficult to get the pupillage. That's the issue with the bar in the UK. The difficult thing is to get yourself with a pupillage and work at the chambers, and then to have your full rights of hearing before the UK courts.
Okay, so we got one more question from Carrie. Do you work with Chinese clients in Cyprus? Is knowledge of Mandarin useful in practicing law both in UK and Cyprus?
I would like to address this one. Yes, we do have quite a lot of clients in Cyprus from China. Mostly either they're gonna be coming to Cyprus for investment, because it's a very good opportunity through the scheme. And also due to the fact that the Cyprus flag for the ships, it's very beneficial for their tonnage tax. We have quite a lot of Chinese companies coming here to register their vessels under Cyprus flag, which is considered of the top 10 flags in the world. We work quite a lot, and it would be very useful if we had a person or a colleague that would speak Mandarin. As I've stated before, we've got out many colleagues that are bilingual, and it really assists us in communicating with our clients and practicing. Yeah, that's from the Cyprus point of view.
So what about Nico? So what about the UK side? Is there?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, there are many Chinese clients. London is full of Chinese clients, so yeah, it's definitely useful. And as I said, it's like it works to, even if it doesn't feel like it now, it will work to your advantage 100%. I mean, I've told you my stories. I have 2 brilliant stories with using my Greek, and Greek is not a language. Like, we don't really have as many Greek clients as Chinese in the UK or around the world. Population is just very small, and I have used my Greek, so definitely Mandarin is much more important.
Okay, that's a good question. So, any question from the audience? Oh, there's one more question from Kara. Could you please explain more the roles and tasks of employment lawyers? Would it be working in a law firm or for a particular company?
Okay, they can be working in both, but I will tell you now, Kara, that employment lawyers are definitely in demand during the coronavirus. So in my firm, we've got a specific department. It's called an employment department, and the work that they do is they usually deal with drafting the service contracts, like for big companies, like I cannot name any clients, but a big client that wants to hire a new CEO or a new person, they will draft their service contracts and their non-compete obligations in case that person leaves the company and then in the future he's not allowed to work in the competitive market for 6 or like 12 months. But also what they do is they help on corporate transactions. So sometimes when one company buys another company, then they deal with all the transferring of all those employees from the one company to the other company, and they protect their rights. And now with the coronavirus, there are so many schemes around the world to protect people that are asked to stop working or are made redundant during the crisis. So they are really busy at the moment. If there is the opportunity to work for a particular company, if you are an in-house counsel, that's very different from working at a law firm. So, for example, big company Google, it has its own legal team, and there may be opportunities to work like in that legal team, and you will be doing everything. You're not going to be doing just employment law. You're going to be doing all the legal things that Google, all the legal problems that Google faces. And I don't know if it's the same or different in Cyprus, Chris.
Yeah, actually, employment practice is not, it is considered by itself. Most of the practices, most of the firms have their separate department devoted to employment because of their needs of their clients. If you have a big client with a personnel of 500 people, they most definitely will require. To be honest with you, during the coronavirus outbreak, employment law, generally frustration and force majeure, has become the scene maker of the whole industry at the moment. Everyone is discussing termination of employment, force majeure, frustration of the contract, termination. It's an interesting field, and as I've stated, most big firms have their own department devoted on employment. If you, I think Hara also asked about, just give me a sec, she asked also about, would it be working a law firm for a particular, or for working an in-house, let's say, lawyer in a company, would require to have employment knowledge, but due to the different fields that they need to and tasks that they need to do, they usually outsource it. So it is not required to them to be top-notch on the employment practice, since they can outsource it. But it's one of the most important advantages that you're going to have against your competition if you have a knowledge of employment law. And to be fair, Cyprus and the UK, the employment law in general, it's mostly governed by the same principles, which makes it easy for every in-house lawyer to know the basic principles. That's it for Cyprus.
Okay, thanks for the opinion from both Cyprus and the UK. So anyone have any more questions?
Eric, I think we had some earlier about the impact. I think it was Greg that asked about coronavirus and whether these will be impacting it, except apart from our daily routines, if we are expecting to see more cases in court, or the effects on the M&A. I can talk about the effects on the M&A, and then Chris can talk about cases in court.
Yeah,
I have actually, this is not to brag, but I have actually written an article about the potential effects on the M&A. If you are interested, Greg, it's on my LinkedIn. And it's difficult because definitely M&A, which for anyone that doesn't know, this is mergers and acquisitions, so people buying and selling companies. These will be one of the sectors that will be mostly affected by this crisis, and because people are now focusing on saving their current companies, and no one really is looking to buy a new company at this time or sell their companies. Well, we still have transactions going on. We're not expecting that this will be a complete slowdown, standstill of the M&A market, but definitely some sectors like travel, leisure, the airline industry, all of those, we are not expecting to see huge M&A activity. But other sectors like healthcare, we are expecting to see some opportunities arising there. So we are hoping that this will balance it out. That being said, many companies, unfortunately, will be struggling to make it through the crisis. So M&A will be an option, could be an option for them to survive. So like merge with another company in order to make it through the crisis. So time will show, but it's definitely, it has changed. This is a bit technical, getting a bit technical now, so I'm conscious of that, but it has changed the way we negotiate some of the current transactions. So we have seen putting specific like coronavirus clauses into our transactions, just to protect and apportion the risk between the buyer and the seller.
Okay. Oh, there's one more question from Petros. So well, companies start invoking the material advice change clause for deals agreed upon before the outbreak and are not considered not variable due to the virus.
I think Chris can speak to that more.
For the, to be fair, I think Kiri was the one that asked the question earlier about it. But I would agree with that we might see that happening right now. It's yet to be seen the total effects of the coronavirus. I mean, it's too early for us to discuss anything. We need to see the long run gain. I mean, China is recovering from it with not much of a damage being done, but it needs to be seen in a holistic approach at the end of the day. So this question should be able, I would be able to address it more accurately in due time. I think now it's a bit preemptively. But I would like to say, as you've stated before, with the coronavirus, what else is how it's going to change the legal market. On my point of practice in the dispute resolution, the work is increasing, to be fair. We have too much insolvency activity going on. Many companies won't make it, won't be able to make it. Potential creditors are rushing. Banks are pushing for their securities to be enforced due to and accelerating their contracts due to default of payments. I would like to share with you here that we had quite a lot of arrest queries to be made, urgent applications, injunctions. It's a bit like 2013, but a bit more controlled at this level. And as I've stated before, it's yet to be seen. We cannot discuss those issues until we have a full picture of what the COVID-19 will actually affect us.
Just a small point to add on that. Thank you, Chris. That was really useful. Just an observation, and I can send you this article, Kiri, later. This is in 2008, during the financial crisis. Not many people actually invoked those material adverse change clauses. And the reason for that is that these clauses are usually drafted really broadly to address something that may, like an extraordinary event out of the control. But the bar for those clauses to be invoked is really, really high. So even if people tried that, it didn't actually work. So a whole financial crisis wasn't enough to invoke those material adverse clauses. So it will be really interesting to see if the pandemic will actually reach that bar. So it's a very interesting point of law.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, I suggest everyone can open their and put them on mute and open their camera if you have any questions you want to ask to our guest. So, any questions? Oh, there's one more question from The Voice. Which type of law is the most lucrative in the UK and Cyprus?
I would say every type of law. Like it depends on the phase. Like usually, corporate is the king of everything in the UK, in London, with the financial services, financial center. So corporate law and all this transactional stuff are the key. But now corporate is really quiet. It doesn't really make a lot of money for law firms, and litigation is becoming, and insolvency are more popular. So any type of law, I don't think that people should be looking for the most lucrative one to go into, but actually looking for the one that they enjoy, because they're all important.
I totally agree with Nikki. Most profitable depend also in Cyprus, to be fair. We're providing quite a lot of corporate services, and the tax scheme and the tax environment is very beneficial. So corporate law is considered as the most profitable one. But the most essential and the one you cannot escape, and the one that you're always gonna need, from my point of view, it's litigation. So the two of them are combining. You cannot separate them. A law firm must be diverse. Either it's gonna practice both, so it's gonna be much bigger, or it can focus. I mean, I know quite a lot of firms that specialize on dispute resolution, and they're quite profitable because it's their niche. This is what they do, and this is how they make their money. It depends on how your policy, and it's a business model actually. It's a business decision that you need to be, as a firm, to make, to decide which field, which practice are you gonna be in to make your money. But the most important is you need to enjoy what you are doing. If you don't enjoy it, I don't think it's gonna be profitable at the end of the day.
And the other point to note is that nowadays it's not so much about the type of law that you do, but the sector of law that you focus into. So I know Chris's firm is focused on the shipping industry, and they do corporate and litigation work for them, but they focus on a sector, and this is increasingly what we see in the UK as well. So my firm focuses on real estate, infrastructure, food and drink. So they want to say to their clients, we are experts in this sector, and we can offer all the types of law to service that sector, instead of saying we are experts in corporate law or we are experts in litigation law.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there's
yeah.
the
Hello,
part.
yes. There's a rejoin that there's a part 2 to that question, please.
Part 2, yes.
I think we kind of answered that.
No. I think what you did was to give, you gave a broader answer without specifics. I want specific, like for example, I'm a specialist in PIL, Public International Law.
Okay.
Myself. And Public International Law doesn't have the same kind of attraction like what you guys do. You do corporate law, you do commercial law, you do business law, you do investment law. I do public international law. And what that means is I don't get to get busy every day. I don't get to make a lot of money like you guys do every day. But the most important thing for me is that I have that opportunity to really express myself in the strongest possible way, because again, just like Chris said earlier, he likes to act, likes to talk. That is what I also like to do. But when you do commercial law, you do business law, you do investment law, you don't argue, you don't talk. All you do is paperwork. But for me, as somebody that wants to put my mouth where my money is, that is why I do public international law. Not because of the money, but because that is what gives me joy in the practice of law and jurisprudence in general. So I'm putting back that question to you. Are you doing what you like, or are you doing it because it has fat pockets?
I would be honest with you. I definitely do what I like, and I think I do appreciate what you do, and I think public international law is very interesting and very important. But I think the point here, maybe for me as a trainee lawyer, maybe you say that corporate lawyers make all the money and they get busy all the day, but please, can I remind you that we're just employees in a very big law firm. So maybe the law firm is making all that money, but I think for the hours that I work every day, I don't think I get paid enough. I'm sorry.
Well, that is a different argument completely. That is what we're going to take outside of law and begin to talk about maybe corporate governance or capitalism, which has nothing to do specifically with law. But again, I understand and I agree with you. So Chris, can I have your take on that?
Yeah, my take on that is, practicing commercial law in a dispute in the litigation factor, there is an argument. There is something to do. There's going to be an argument, a reasoning, a negotiation, a closing, a settlement of a dispute. To be fair with you, as I've discussed previously with Nikki, if I was going to be at the firm and doing transactional or financing, I would kill myself. I like to contest. I like to argue. I like to push forward reason. I do appreciate that you enjoy public international law, and I congratulate you for choosing that path. And in my perspective, how I see that is that public international lawyers are not commonly used in every firm, but when you request them, they are of vital importance. I mean, you are checking to find the best one. So the ones we came across for an arbitration for investment with countries, we came across a guy that he was his stellar performance, stellar reviews, top notch, and he was an academic at heart. So that's the thing I see with public international. If you want to devote yourself to it, probably an academic pathway that will assist you in your employment, in your service providing in the general sector. I think that's a good combination.
Absolutely, Chris. I agree with you. And just like you talk about the academia, that is what keeps us alive. That is what we survive on. If we talk about the practice itself, we are not going to make our 3 square meals. So we actually make money. Yeah. Yes, we make money from the academia. We make money from our papers. We make money from teaching as well. We make money from speeches we give and other kind of lectures we do. But in terms of the practice itself, you could just have one assignment 1 year, and 1 year is 365 days, but you might just be called upon just once in the year. So the question is, how do you survive, right? And again, you are very correct on that. So we survive on the academia, absolutely.
Yeah, and as I told you, through your networking and being involved in it, it will give you that the time will come. It's very difficult. I do share with you your concerns that, you know, it's for me as a public international lawyer, it's very, very, very difficult to get into a firm and practice it. But there are firms that do specialize in that. And I think most of them are in the UK. Hong Kong has quite a few, if I'm not mistaken, and Brussels as well. So there is a small margin for you to get in, but if you get in, you're gonna be in the Hall of Fame.
That is absolutely very correct, because the thing about PIL, public international law, again, is when you get in, just like you said, you don't make money in just any kind of currency. You make money in the hard currency. You understand? So perhaps
6 figure.
Yeah, perhaps, yes, absolutely. So one case could take care of you for 1 year. You know what I'm trying to say? So you don't need a couple of cases like you do in commercial law or trade law, investment law. You just need one break, and you can just have your holiday somewhere, perhaps in Cyprus.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for your
something to add on it. Public international law, you know, it quite relates with international tax. And
absolutely. It's
close OECD, the OECD, how they follow the matters on the tax law. It requires quite a lot of knowledge of our public international, because I'm doing the audit course and we're doing international tax. And I was never a fan, to be honest, with public international law. And I came across quite a lot of concepts. I mean, a whole new gameplay.
Yes, absolutely. But again, in respect to what you just said, when you bring in tax and taxation, you're talking about trade law, and that perhaps might tilt it a bit to public international law. But substantially, it has to do more with private international law.
Yeah.
And what I mean, private international law, because you're talking about one corporate organization against another corporate organization from 2 different countries. You understand?
So on public law, it's on principal issues of international tax. And on the more hands-on approach, I do agree that it's rather domestic or private international.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. So
right.
Yes. So private international law comes into it more, bigger than PIL, because what we do in PIL, public international law is what transpires between two
Sorry to
countries.
interrupt, guys. Sorry. So we are almost running out of time. So we you know.
Thank
So we
you,
have
thank you very much, Sung, and my apologies.
Guys, discussing it with you.
Always a
Yep.
pleasure. I am a PhD student here in China, by the way.
Yep, that will do. So just we have one more question, and that will be the one last question from Chara. So she is currently in her 4th year of graduate degree in human resource management. So she had tried to apply to LLM, but it requires some law experience or passing a bar exam, even without any background in law. Is it possible to take as a training in a law firm? Yep.
Yes, Hada, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I can give you more information about that, but definitely yes. But what you will have to do is do a conversion course. This is a course for 1 year that will convert your human resources at the graduate degree into a law degree. And then from that, you can get into a law firm. And even most of the law firms in the UK, if you apply for them now, you can perfectly apply for them now, get a training contract. And as I said, there is a 2-year gap. So they will pay for you to do this conversion course, and they will also pay for you to do the other course, the legal practice course, and then start with them in a couple of years. I can give you more information about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. So that's it. That's our webinar today. I think if you have any questions you want to ask, you can follow our WeChat account and leave a message and let us know if you have anything you want to know. And also we will have more webinars in our next following weeks. And just follow us, our WeChat group, and we will let you know and update any information you want to know. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Nico and Chris, for sharing this information with us.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Before we leave, I would like to make, because I know most of you are foreign students.
Yeah.
Before we leave, I would like to give a last tip that I myself find the most useful one, and it's a very simple one. When I'm bored or I don't really know what to do and I need to work, what gives me a push and amplifies my knowledge and my linguistic skills is listening to judgments. So I do recommend you, I'm sending the link right now, to listen to the judgments of the Supreme Court of the UK. You're gonna be amazed how helpful is it gonna be to you. Also for your legal knowledge and your linguistic as well. So do follow it. It's gonna assist you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.